deep in the heart of the backwoods, where tradition meets raw nature, where old world craftsmanship meets the wild frontier spirit. Here lies a gun shop like no other. Here is the Soap Creek Armory.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Backroads Channel. I'm Mark Denny with Mark and Rich. Glad to have you here, and we've been looking forward to this one because this is one of Rich and I's favorite places to come, a gun shop. And we've got a good one to show to you today. Josh Davenport, the owner and operator, we're going to visit with him about several different things, including repair work. He does a lot of that here himself too. So whatever you need, you can find it here at Soap Creek Armory, and he'll give you the address and the phone numbers and all that. But one thing we want to let everybody know, this place is in the middle of nowhere. It really is, which really makes it even more authentic to come to. So we want to invite everybody to come along. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. We'd really appreciate that, as it helps our channel immensely. So let's get started with our tour of the Soap Creek Armory and meet Josh Davenport.
Well, we're sitting here with Josh Davenport. Glad to be with you today, Josh.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, let's talk about the gun shop itself. Let's get some background first.
Okay.
What made you get started in this, Josh?
I've always had an interest in guns, and started working on them here and there a little bit, and started putting my shingle out while I had another job, and started working on a lot. And several of the customers would ask me, you know, what do you have for sale? And I didn't have anything for sale. I was just working on guns at the time, doing some gunsmithing. And so I thought, well, maybe as many people had asked me if I had anything for sale, that maybe I could start selling some stuff, and those two things would work together. So that's really how we got started with the actual walk-in store with inventory.
Okay. And what year did that start, Josh?
2014.
Okay.
I got my FFL, and I was just kind of doing it as a hobby before that, also in another place where I lived before this. But, and then about 2017, we built this showroom in my shop, just in the corner of the shop, put an outside door. And 2018, I quit the other job in Bloomfield and started running this on a semi-full-time basis.
Okay. What training did you have for your gunsmithing on that?
Well, I have taken a lot of training since I started, and you know, it's one of those things where you kind of, sometimes you learn as you go. There are some things that I wish I would have gone to school and learned, but I already had kind of a life and a mortgage and a family.
Yeah, that kind of adds up.
And all of those contributing factors why I didn't do it. There are some things that would have been good to learn. So some of those things I've had to learn the hard way. You know, sometimes you learn by breaking things, then you got to fix things and such. But I have tried to, through the years, as opportunities have availed themselves, to take different trainings in different places. I've traveled all the way from Arizona to Maryland to like Murray State College in Oklahoma for different training sessions on different things. But you know, it's one of those things where you don't always learn everything that you need to from a book.
Right.
And I've had students come in here that have actually graduated from a gunsmithing school, and they'll come in, and we've gone to the back and just worked on a few things, and I ask, well, I never got taught. They'll say, I never got taught that. How'd you learn how to do it? We just learned how to do it. You know, and so you can't learn everything from a book. There would have been good things for me to learn, but I know my limits. There are some things I can do, some things I can't do, some things I prefer to do, some things I can do very well, some things I'm not comfortable doing. So that's something you kind of learn over time and kind of find your niche.
What about gun bluing and stuff like that? Do you do that?
I don't. So right now I have 3 guns that I'm making, 1911 pistols, and they are in the process of getting blued. So there is no large-scale professional bluer in Iowa anymore. There's some people that do it as a hobbyist, but if you're going to do it as an actual FFL with licensing, you also have to meet the state conservation requirements, EPA kind of environments, and there's just nobody that really has that in Iowa anymore, because all the tanks, the propane has to be hard plumbed in from a stationary tank, not a portable tank. You have to have proper ventilation, really have to have a separate building from that. So there is no bluer in Iowa. So my parts that are getting blued right now, they're at a large-scale bluer in Alabama.
Wow. I know it's very caustic. It is a very, it was a long time ago I watched a man do it, and it's very tedious work itself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hot bluing
yes.
is what a lot of people don't realize. Hot bluing is what most of your factory guns especially used to be. There's a lot of new finishes today that are not bluing, but your factory old cold hot blue is what really looks nice. Cold bluing is something you can do, but it never looks as nice and doesn't work as nice as far as protectant.
How many would you say today with the modern firearms, compared to the older stuff that comes in, what would you say the majority of it you work on? Is it the older stuff that you're seeing?
Yeah, and that's another thing, talking about guys that are wanting to get into gunsmithing. They kind of have this idea that they're going to get to do what they want, and the fact of the matter is a lot of people aren't wanting to do what most gunsmiths are wanting to do when they get into it. So most of my time, I stay anywhere from 40 to 50 guns that I work on at one time. I'm either from 2 to 4 months out. People just need to bring them in and get them in line. But what I work on the most is old, worn-out rimfire rifles.
Really?
And worn-out semi-auto shotguns. So that's the thing that I do the most. It's not necessarily what I like the most, but that's kind of the bread and butter. Fixing rimfire rifles, rimfire handguns, period, but especially rimfire rifles, because they get used more, are more prone to malfunction just because the rimfire ammunition itself, it's a rim fire, so you're dealing with some issues there. Also, just the type of shell, and then a variety of the ammo that's used in the rimfire world. And then the semi-auto shotgun, you're dealing with a big peg that has to be able to cycle and feed correctly. So as guns get wore out and not maintained properly, that's something. So that is what I end up having to do a lot, is work on those.
So that's basically the mainstay.
That seems like it, yes.
Okay. Has it evolved quite a bit over the years as far as the operations of some of these guns? I know they've probably got more, as far as complex, they probably got more, haven't they?
Well, they've gotten more consistent in that, CNC machining has made guns more consistent and has limited the requirement from guns usually having to be hand fit, unless it's a super accurate, handgun or a bench rifle of some sort. They're mass produced, and so CNC has made things more consistent, and therefore they usually work fairly well. Sometimes the metallurgy isn't as good as what it used to be, so sometimes you see that, but we have advanced. In some way, we've advanced in our technology in that sometimes we have fewer parts. We've learned what works well, gas versus, recoil or inertia, and vice versa, or a combination of the two. So yeah, things do change, but there really is only, a few different designs within each gun category: the semi-automatic category, the revolver category, the rifle, the shotgun. There's only really a few systems, so even though you might have 1,000 different models, there's only really a handful of systems, and it just comes down to the size of parts or screws or whatever.
Sure. Now, one question I want to ask you: you've seen the polymers coming into play more now. Is that becoming more prolific now than, say, like the old ways when they had the wood grips and they built the guns out of more of a? Now they're doing the polymer now. Is it more efficient for them to do that now? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's much cheaper. The material's cheaper. They can take, they don't have to buy, bar stock. They don't have to buy big chunks of steel. They don't have to go through tooling. They can, take the powder and ingredients and put it in a big machine and ooze it out, And a lot of the polymer is really good. Not all polymer is great. Not all polymers equals. There is good and there's bad. But yeah, you're starting to see a lot more of that. They're getting better at it all the time. There's a few companies that seem to want to stay cheaper at it, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that is going to be something that continues especially in the handgun world.
So would you say there's a drawback to the polymer as opposed to the...
Not really. I guess it kind of depends on how you approach firearms yourself. So if you're looking at something that's a usable tool, you know, a high quality polymer handgun is not a detriment.
Okay.
In any means. If you're looking for something that's cool, and I mean like the second kind of cool, like collector, ooh, ah, you know, type of thing, you know, it's hard for, at least right now, a lot of guys to get excited about a polymer pistol, unless that's all they've ever known, and they get, you know, brand myopic, and they kind of want to collect. I mean, there are people that collect all the Glocks, more power to them and everything, but, you know, it's to people that have been in the shooting world, you know, longer than 20, 30 years, it's not as exciting. No.
But the weight also, it takes the weight away too, doesn't it, for the polymer? Yeah,
they're lighter to carry, they're cheaper to make, therefore cheaper to sell usually. Lower price point. It's just the way things are today.
You see it going more that direction though?
I think eventually it will plateau. I mean, it seems like a lot of companies that start getting into, you know, they've been a company that's made a steel product or an aluminum product, some kind of alloy product through the years, and they're kind of Johnny-come-lately trying to make a striker-fired polymer pistol. They seem to kind of struggle, you know, with trying to jump on the bandwagon when somebody's already got that notoriety. But yeah, it's definitely here to stay, and I don't know where that level is in regards to, you know, when people have enough guns and there's not going to need to be anymore. I'm not sure where that is, depending on how the economy is at any given time. Sometimes you feel that way, but then smarter people than me work in some of those companies and decide that they're going to start making something and market something. So I don't know. Like,
let's take for instance like Smith & Wesson. Have they been slow to develop that into the polymer, or are they more or less grasp it?
You know, they got into it. You know, it was a big company with people kind of keeping tabs on everything. You know, they got into it sooner than a lot of others did. I mean, you know,
who's been more resilient to it? I mean, as far resistant to it.
Gaston Glock, no doubt.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the king of the polymer. You know, right there.
What about, you know, Colt? Are they leaning toward it now?
They toyed with it several years ago, but they're not going to. I don't think they're going to.
Okay.
They're kind of behind when it comes to trends.
Okay.
And part of that is where they are in the gun belt there of the Northeast. They struggle. I love Colt. They struggle with a lot of union issues. Of course, they just got bought. They're owned by CZ Group now, which I think will help both companies. Honestly, CZ makes a lot of polymer pistols though, so they're probably not going to compete just for that reason alone. But you know, Colt goes on their name, so reintroducing the revolver is what they, you know, the Anacondas and the Pythons here a few years ago. That, you know, 1911. Are there cooler 1911s out there? Yes. Are there 1911s that maybe have better trigger pulls and internals? Yes, but there is. And you talk to any 1911 gunsmith, there is nothing wrong with the metal that they still use in their foundation, their frames and slides. Okay. It's a good thing. But Colt does not need, I don't say this to make them sound bad, but Colt does not really need the civilian world. Their biggest customer is the U.S. government. So that's who they spend their time on. When the government buying is low, Colt ARs are available to us. When the government says we're going to write you a check for, you know, thousands of rifles, you start to see that inventory go down a little bit. The same rifle that they would sell the government, other than the internals as being, you know, full auto or whatever, are the very same quality of what you'll see on the rack like in here.
Okay.
So.
Now, what is it you're doing here?
Right here I am polishing a feed ramp on the frame of a 45 ACP 1911. These are one of our cannons that we build. We are an 07 manufacturer, and so one of the things that we do is I make custom 1911s, and so these are actually imprinted with our information, manufactured right there, manufactured by Soap Creek Armory, Unionville, Iowa. So I make 3 at a time, and I'm polishing the feed ramp for, but these are, they'll either be 5-inch or 4¼ inch 1911s. We do all hand fitting, and so that makes a 1911 more accurate, and we also use some of the best components that I have found to be available, so they're reliable and are a long-lasting gun. So I was just polishing the feed ramp. I'm not done with it yet, but that will be for reliability in the future. So again, one of the things I do a lot is work on rimfire rifles, and so this one needed a very good cleaning, and so those are all the internal parts. Sometimes they need more than cleaning. Oftentimes springs need to be replaced, or a part is bent or worn, but this one just needed a real good cleaning. And rimfire ammo, especially the old stuff's very dirty. And I've went around the country trying to get the best training I can from those who are the best in the industry on this. One person that I owe a lot to is Chad Albrick from School of the American Rifle. I've attended his class, and he's taught me a lot on gauging and such, so you can check him out. But there's a lot of bad information out there. Do not follow the mindset that ARs are just Legos. If you do that, you're probably going to put them together wrong. And so they're easy to put together, but it's also easy to put them together incorrectly and using inferior parts. So that's one of the things. One of the reasons I do the black rifle classes. So. That's all that we're working on right now. Like I said, I keep about 40 to 50 guns in the hopper as far as working on, but I only have so much bench space to have so many guns disassembled, so I try to keep things progressing and going along. Like I said, I'm building 3 1911s right now. Those are in the toolboxes for those individual projects, and then I usually have 1 or 2 guns here on the bench in pieces. And so, but yeah, we try to offer these services, whether it's cleaning, repair, diagnosis, and replacing sights, building guns. I know I work on a lot of rimfire rifles and shotguns. I don't necessarily like that. What I like to do is work on handguns. And when I say handguns, I like to work on older handguns. I love to work on revolvers, and I love to work on 1911 pistols. So that's what I like to do. I have a very good understanding, I believe, of the AR system beyond, what is commonly known. So I do enjoy being able to diagnose and solve a lot of the AR problems that come in this door and come through the doors there. So I would say that probably 75% of the problems we see with brand new guns, 75% of the guns we sell don't have a problem. But of the ones that do have a problem, brand new, 75% of those I would say are ARs. And that is because there's a lot of substandard AR manufacturing and smaller parts. It's never in the big parts. It's very seldom in the barrel, the receiver itself, the upper receiver, lower receiver. It's usually in the small parts that they're using or their assembly techniques where the problems are being caused. So
are they easy problems to fix?
Yes, if you know what you're looking for and you know how to diagnose them. A lot of people just put Band-Aids on. They think, well, I just need put an adjustable gas block on. If everything is how it should be, you should never, ever need an adjustable gas block. And adjustable gas blocks come with problems of their own down the road. So, lots of times people are doing things to try to fix a gun. They're not fixing the problem itself. It's kind of like having an old car where the carburetor leaks and it's not getting enough fuel to the engine, so they just put a higher CFM fuel pump in it to feed it more fuel. Well, you're still dumping fuel all over the ground, and you get some more maybe into the engine. But you understand what I'm saying? Lots of our problems are in the upper itself. And we're dealing with gas efficiency or inefficiency, and so it's important to be able to know how to diagnose and know, hey, that part's bad, that is causing a problem, and it's usually not what people think is the problem.
Talk about non-resident permits. There are a lot of states that you can get a non-resident permit for. Do they carry the same weight?
Okay, so Iowa does not issue a non-resident permit. Many states do. Sometimes people from Iowa might get a non-resident permit from another state because a state that they frequent or pass through will only, they won't accept the permit from Iowa, but they will from another state. But some states it won't recognize a permit from another state unless you are a resident of that state. So there are resources like USA Carry out there. I kind of push people towards. They kind of keep up with all the laws and have a up-to-date interactive reciprocity map, and you can find out that information there. But like for instance, New Mexico does not honor the Iowa permit, but they do honor the Arizona permit. Arizona, unlike Iowa, does issue non-resident permits. So as a resident of Iowa, you can get an Arizona permit and therefore carry in New Mexico. And you know, there's a lot of the popular ones, Utah, Florida, but that's all changing as, you know, we're at a record number of constitutional carry states, and that's all, hopefully will even get better. So I'm looking for, I think there's a good chance of some reciprocity nationally happening here soon. But oh yeah, I think it would surprise people how many people are carrying at any one given time, whether they go to the store or church or mall or in, you know, their neighbor's neighborhood. But yeah, more people are carrying concealed or open. But yeah, there's a lot more people carrying than most people realize. Well, obviously, when it comes to concealing, you know, some guns are going to be easier to conceal than others. You know, size, but also weight is a consideration there. So, yeah.
Do people gravitate more toward the semi-autos than the revolvers?
Yes, and yeah, that would be the case. And I think probably because there are more options in the semi-auto, and that's what's marketed more towards people. And it is a superior firearm, semi-automatic firearm, just because of the higher capacity, the ability to reload faster. You know, usually in calibers, non-rimfire, reliable calibers have less recoil, 9mm versus 38, for instance. But yeah, they're a lot better in that way if you get the right training to learn how to deal with the malfunction. So, you know, I'm all for people practicing, but I also tell them that they need to get some training and practice if they're going to take it seriously. Well, if we knew we were going into a gunfight, we'd probably have a 12 gauge or a 44 mag. But, you know, one thing I don't recommend rimfire. So I don't recommend 22s for a self-defense gun. Not necessarily because of the size of the bullet, because, you know, I don't want to get hit with anything. But rimfire ammunition is more prone to malfunction than centerfire ammo. So for that reason, I don't recommend a rimfire firearm for self-defense. You know, if that was the last thing you had, sure. But no, it's not something I would recommend. But yeah, 9mm is probably the most popular. The 9mm cartridge is the most produced cartridge in all the world. And so, you know, there's a lot of 380 options out there. The 380 handguns are smaller, and I can show those to you. But yeah, sometimes that gives you more concealability, but not quite as much knockdown. And obviously, the ammo costs a lot more because they don't make as much of it as 9mm. So 9mm is the number one. Well, I just wanted to say about them, a lot of people come in here and they like old guns, and they'll say something about, you got a lot of antiques around the top and around on the wall. And I said, well, they're actually one brand. The brand was Davenport, and that's my last name. And they were made by a relative of ours in Connecticut in the late 1800s and early 1900s. William H. Davenport started with Hopkins and Allen, and he's the one who actually, when he worked for them, got the patent on the first automatic ejector. When you open a shotgun, it pops it out. He's the one that invented that. Then he went off on his own, and when he died, he had turned the business over to his son, and W.H. Davenport ended up dying as a consultant for Colt. They were all there in the gun belt, Connecticut, and all of that. But I've got 22 rifles. Most of them are shotguns. I do have 4 8-gauge shotguns, single barrels, double barrels, and so it's just kind of a neat part of my family history. I call it the world's most worthless collection because there's nobody looking for them, and I've got over 150 of them. So, but yeah, that's the story of the Davenport shotguns. But it is kind of neat for people to come in and look at and show them an 8-gauge shotgun shell and talk about old guns, and so it mixes well with what we're trying to do here. I have worked on several of them, got them go. I've shot trap with a couple of them, shot a squirrel with one of them. It's just part of what I am and what we do.
So you've actually got some pieces up here that you have outsourced locally and built, is that correct?
Well, we got two different things right here. This is one of our uppers, and this is a Soap Creek Armory upper. We had it laser engraved, and then we Duracoated it so the aluminum is not exposed to the elements. These are a stainless 350 Legend barrel, so that's something we make on our own. We've had the opportunity to do some cool things from time to time. We bought out a gun shop in Newton back in 2020 and increased our inventory by about 250 guns. And then something similar to that, a little over a year ago, there was a local gun manufacturer. They were just making ARs, and specifically the lower receivers, and they decided to stop doing that and pursue other things. Part of that was personnel change, and part of that was the ARs were kind of dropping off in sales. But anyway, we bought the last of their receivers, about 383, and we got about 100 of them left, but they are a locally made receiver and fairly decent, but they'll work. And again, most of the problems with the AR are not with the lower receiver. Most of them are in the bolt carrier group. That is the heart of the gun. But yeah, we sell these. They're $55 each, or if you buy 3 or more, they're $45 each. And of course, they're serial numbered, so there is paperwork on them. And they are ready to go. We sell all the parts for you to build them, and we can guide you in that process as far as what to get and such. As far as being able to reach out to us, you can stop by the shop, and through the fall, winter, and spring, our hours are Thursday 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So Thursday's our long day. It's 12 hours. It gives people the opportunity that work through the day to come that night. Friday night, get off at 5. You can still make it here by 6. And then Saturday, of course. Now in the summer, we're only open Thursdays and Fridays. I do have other things I do through the week, and it gives me also an opportunity to work on guns where people aren't walking in and out the door and interrupting that. But we are closed in the summer on Saturdays, and there's a lot of other things going on. We're involved in the local shooting sports and the different competitions and things like that around here. And so, I still do that with family and friends on Saturdays. As far as knowing what our inventory is, we used to do a lot on Facebook. We're trying to, but they've been real hard on us. And that's because we did a lot on Facebook, and they pick on me pretty good, and for no reason. But we do try to. It's been a challenge to keep up with our inventory on our website, which is soapcreekarmory.com. And we've got a lot of information on there as far as contact information, services we provide, guns that are for sale. We don't sell any guns on our website. Like, you can't buy them through the website, but it kind of shows you what we have. We also have gunsmithing that is sent to us from out of state, and so we can facilitate that and help get that process rolling. I work on several revolvers from around the country. I do a lot of that, some 1911 work and such, but you can reach us by phone or email. Our landline here at the shop is 641-938-2091. Again, that's 641-938-2091. You can also call or text me on my cell. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, 641-208-0061. 641-208-0061. You can email me at soapcreekarmory@gmail.com or josh@soapcreekarmory.com. And yeah, you can call or email, and I'll do my best to get back with you.
One other thing I wanted to ask you too, you carry a lot of different brands and handguns and rifle, shotguns, ARs, the whole gamut. Mm-hmm. If there's a particular gun, let's just say a concealed carry gun, mm-hmm. and you don't have it in stock at the time, or maybe you don't necessarily stock it, can you get it?
If it's available, yeah, I can get it. I source from several different distributors, which are basically big gun shops for small gun shops like me. There are only a couple of things that I can't get as far as brands. Some companies work directly and don't work through the middleman. So there are bigger businesses that have the advantage of that. But yeah, most things are available. There are lots of brands I don't stock because I call them subpar on the quality end, but I can usually get them if somebody is on a budget or they just really, want that particular gun. So yes, we can order guns for you. We also do consignments. We sell guns for people. We charge 10% of the final selling cost. We do transfers. I think we're still probably the cheapest on transfers around, it's crazy, but we only charge $10 for a transfer, and that's kind of become an area of pride for me. So I don't know if I can change it or not, because it's kind of the lowest one around. So, but it does bring people here. As far as where we're located, we are in the middle of nowhere, and that's what is in our slogan, our motto, our logo, or whatever. Soap Creek Armory, your old school gun shop in the middle of nowhere. We are in the far northwest corner of Davis County. We pull kind of equally from populace of Ottumwa, Bloomfield, Centerville, Albia. Have a lot of people that come down from Oskaloosa. Regularly have people from Des Moines, Burlington, people that come up from Missouri. Obviously, they're just limited. They can't buy handguns here. And that's true from any state to state. But our address is 12251 Bison Trail, and it's actually, even though we're in Davis County, our zip code is Unionville, Iowa. Not Unionville, Missouri, Unionville, Iowa, 52594. And we live on a long 7-mile road on the top of a ridge. It's called Bison Trail, but the old timers call it Wheeler Ridge. And you know, you'll see a sign on the one end that says 3.5 miles, but it's a winding 3.5 miles, so it seems more like 6. But we are here on Bison Trail, and so yeah, we'd love for you to come by and visit us sometime.
Well, folks, that's been us here at the Backroads Channel. Thank you so much, Josh. Really appreciate your knowledge and everything. You've taken your time out to inform us of all this great inventory you have here. And folks, you need to check this place out. If you get a chance and you're in Iowa or you're out visiting, stop by. Josh would love to visit with you and talk to you. And it is just a wonderful place to come up and see the inventory, but also probe his knowledge. I mean, he's got years of experience at this place, and would love to hear from you as well. So for me, myself, Rich, and Mark here at the Backroads Channel, we thank you much again. And don't forget, folks, to like and subscribe. We really would appreciate you clicking that like button and subscribing for us. It really does our channel a really great job. Again, thank you so much here at the Backroads Channel, where we like to say, your Backroads Channel, your back roads to adventure.